Hi all, this is Simona Rich. I'm now in UK in my mother's place. My eyes are still so sensitive, so I can't look too much into the camera because when I travel in Kathmandu, the weather is so dry and there's just so much dust that my eyes are still, they're just so sensitive that they tear up very quickly because of such climate. So I'm still adjusting since I was there for some time in Kathmandu, so my eyes are still suffering. So in this video I'm going to tell how I got back to the UK, and firstly I will tell how my boyfriend got back to his home, because although I wrote an article previously about it mentioning him, I didn't do so in the video, I believe, not much. So basically he was taken by taxi to the Sonauli border and he crossed without any problems, but the dollars that he had changed were only he was able to change only half of them because they had slight scratches. Some notes had slight scratches, so the exchange people refused to change them. This is India-wide rule. It's very strange. But then one man, he called his friends and they offered him half or even less than half the amount that the dollar value was worth, and then my boyfriend had no choice but to accept, and that was enough money to buy to stay in a hotel and to buy train ticket, AC train ticket from north all the way down to the south of India where he lives. So he did that, but unfortunately the travel agents were false and they sold him wrong ticket. So basically they took from him 7,000 rupees and they gave him yesterday's ticket of 250 rupees. And my boyfriend only realized that when he was on the train. It's so important in India if you buy from any travel agents, and you shouldn't do that anyway, but because it's the coronavirus pandemic, train stations are not working, so people have to trust travel agents, so they abuse that. And basically when he realized that he was given wrong ticket, he called them and their phone was switched off. So he was cheated, but fortunately because of the pandemic there are almost no people checking your train tickets, so he managed to travel for 53 hours, that's the length of his journey, without anyone checking his ticket. But he didn't get any seat, so he basically had to stand or sit without lying down for 53 hours. So when he caught a taxi home and it was 45-minute long journey, if I remember right, he was absolutely exhausted, and then he slept for a very long time after that, but he got home safely. So now he's not with his parents still, because in India rules are very strict, so he has to self-isolate for 14 days and he cannot see anyone, and if he goes out anywhere then he will be taken to the hospital to stay for 14 days. It's extremely strict there, so people don't try to take any risks and they just stay for quarantine. So that's how my boyfriend got home, and the way that I did. So I made a video telling that I wasn't sure if I would be able to leave Pokhara, and because those days the permit issuing office wasn't working, and without a permit you can't travel. But I managed to persuade my taxi driver to drive anyways, and they basically made fake permit for me, and they hoped that nobody realizes that they were taking a big risk, but they promised before they promised to take me to Kathmandu, so they can't just say no. And it's not really their fault, because before I booked the ticket they promised me to take me to Kathmandu, but because I booked the ticket so last minute, because there were no tickets, and then suddenly I was told the website to check a possible ticket for, and I successfully booked. So I booked last minute, and that's why they weren't able to get a permit. So it's kind of not my fault also, because I didn't even know that there was a ticket. But anyway, I persuaded them to drop me anyway. They they produced fake permit, and we made our way next day. We were stopped around maybe 5-6 times throughout 4 hours of traveling from Pokhara to Kathmandu. Police is absolutely everywhere. Their checkposts are everywhere. You can't escape, you can't avoid them. But thankfully, those police officers only asked to see my passport and my flight ticket, and only the last checkpost right before entering Kathmandu asked for permit, because this is the biggest checkpost. And can you imagine people wanting to enter Kathmandu have to get PCR test? Without the test they can't enter the city, let alone leaving the country. But for people who are going to Kathmandu to fly out, they allow to enter, because then they need to get a test from Kathmandu itself. If they get test from other cities, they may be denied flying. So rules, and you can't find them out unless you talk to people who are always dropping people to the airports, for example, like the taxi did. So they basically showed the permit. When police officers stopped us, the taxi driver showed the permit, but those police officers, because I was a foreigner, were paying attention more to me than that ticket, than that document, and as a result we were successfully able to get away with it, because they didn't pay much attention to that document. So because of this, we got away with it. Were they to pay attention to the document, we are not sure what would happen, but the taxi driver said that I'm very, very lucky, because we were stopped, the permit was asked, but the focus was not there. So he said I was very lucky. And then he dropped me right to the Star Hospital to do the test, because the next day was my flight, and Star Hospital in Kathmandu does PCR tests the fastest. The results come the fastest, and they're the most organized hospital probably there is. It's a private one. The cost of the test was, I think, $36 or something like this, and it's expensive. For Nepali people, it's extremely expensive, so you have to do that test. I did it, and then I was thinking of doing it in another hospital too, just in case there is one positive, one negative result, because as I said, it's a lottery. I don't believe in the validity of the test. But before telling what happened after that, I will tell how the test itself was carried out. So basically, you have to sit in front of a nurse, and you are separated by a mirror or something like that. And they take one testing object, like a long stick, and place it in your mouth, and they have to go deep into the mouth to take the sample. But what I did, because I heard some news sources saying that some of the test kits are contaminated, so I didn't want to take any risk in case there is a virus. So what I did was, I'm extremely sensitive anyway, so it was kind of natural for me to be freaked out by that, and to make sudden movements, and I was so scared about it. And they thought that they went deep enough because of my reaction, but they didn't go deep at all. And the same was repeated to my nose. They wanted to insert that stick far into my nose, and they got till around here, and then I was making jerking movements, and they said okay, it's enough. And so they didn't insert it fully. I wouldn't allow that. I knew I would get away with it. So I did that, and then I felt that it's going to be negative, and I felt like that I shouldn't go to that other hospital. There's just no energy. Like, it's finished what I have to do, but because of my fear, just in case there is a virus, it's positive, I need to get another test, I ended up going to another hospital anyways, and that was I had to wait a little longer there. Exactly the same similar procedure was repeated, and I again was very sensitive, and they didn't go deep at all. So the samples were collected, and then we went to the Tamil, the tourist area of Kathmandu, and there I stayed for one night. I got a room recommended. That hotel was recommended by the taxi driver. He knew the family, so I stayed there, and they were okay. It wasn't like a nice hotel, it's just normal. And I ate there. They had home cooked food, so it was very tasty. I ate there because in Tamil now it's a ghost town. Absolutely everything is closed. No shop is open unless it's a little further out. Can you imagine? Maybe there were some small takeaway shops. Maybe there were some pharmacies open, I saw. So I feel so sad for people living in Tamil or Kathmandu in general. It's even stricter than in Pokhara. They have everything closed. So you just see gray shutters everywhere. It's just so sad. But I was only there one day, and I didn't want to go out at all. I just wanted to stay in my room. So next day my flight was at 11:30 p.m. and I left the hotel at 6:30 p.m. because I just wanted to get out and go to the airport as soon as possible. And many people actually did that. Many people were already there waiting for the flight, and during that time, in the space of maybe 4 or 5 hours, there were only 3 flights. So we knew our group is waiting for our flight, and we were notified that probably for the next 2 hours we were not going to be allowed in, so we had to stay out. But it wasn't a problem. Everyone was talking to each other. I talked to one couple from Spain and Mexico, and it was interesting to talk to them, so I spent time well, and it went fast. And then at around, I guess 9 actually o'clock, they allowed us in, and they actually didn't even properly check my PCR test. They just quickly checked if it's negative, and that's all. They didn't check anything actually. If you would produce fake PCR tests, probably they would not see at all. And for example, okay, I will tell later. So that went smoothly. The check-in went quite smoothly. It was a little taking time, but it was fine. No questions asked. If it would be from the Indian side, it would be a million questions asked, but from Nepali side, usually it's like not a problem. So we all of us successfully checked in, and then we went to wait for the flight to Dubai, and it arrived on time. And unfortunately, that when we were boarding, one man realized that he doesn't have a passport. He lost it somewhere, so I didn't see him, so I don't know whether he managed to get on the plane or not. But that's very sad, because it's very difficult now to get tickets from Nepal. They are severely limited. I'm very grateful to be here in UK now, because so many people are stuck and they just can't get tickets. But because of my friend, he sent me a message to check one website, and actually it contained one flight was available from it. So I'm very grateful. Otherwise I would be still stuck in Nepal, because the government limited flights severely and people on the flights. So people went into panic, and the day that the flights were released, within maybe 8 hours, all the flights were booked out. So I'm very grateful, very lucky that I got the flight. So the flight, actually, the airplane was quite full of people. Pretty much every seat, I think, was taken, flying from Nepal to Dubai. And once the plane lifted off, I felt relieved, because I knew I'm really flying out. Oh my God, I was more than 6 months in Nepal. So we flew to Dubai. I love Dubai, so I felt great already about it. And the airport was beautiful, of course, DXB. And we saw all those. I was still with that couple, so we loved seeing all the open shops, because we were got used to seeing closed shops or no one there and so forth, and now we are seeing all those beautiful shops open. And then we went to a cafe and I had tuna sandwich with yogurt, and they had cakes, because since they were staying in Kathmandu all the time, none of the cafes were open there, so they were so happy to see just a cake. They were like children enjoying their cake. Can you imagine? So amazing. You kind of appreciate these things that we take for granted usually. So were waiting for our flight to UK, and we were just looking everywhere and staying in cafe and checking the shops. And then the flight time was coming closer, so we went to get our boarding passes, and we easily did. They didn't check our PCR test actually. In Dubai it's told that now without PCR test you can't enter, and it's true, they check if you have this test done on the Nepali side before coming to the, before boarding and everything. But actually in Dubai they didn't even check my PCR test, so again it's not taking as much seriously, so that's good news. I didn't even tell. So I did the test in Star Hospital, and then within maybe 4 hours or 6 hours they called me, and they told that they sent me a message that the test results are ready. And then I called them, and then they told on the phone the result that it's negative, and then I just picked up the test results from there. So back to Dubai. We were waiting for our flight. Me and that couple flew on the same airplane with British Airways to London, and after that they had to take the Eurostar train to Spain, so their journey is very long. So the flight was a little bit delayed, like 1 hour, but that was fine. And then finally we got on the flight, and it was almost empty. There were so many empty seats, and the airplane was so clean. The same actually with Nepal Airlines. The flight was Nepal Airlines airplane was very clean, and it looked very new and huge. And the same with British Airways. It was extremely clean and big airplane, and I really enjoyed flying. It was excellent flight without any turbulence, little bit. And I used to hate flying, but because I haven't flown for 6 months anywhere, this is extremely unusual that I actually missed flying. And when I started flying, I actually really enjoyed it, and that's so unusual for me, because I usually really don't like flying. So I enjoyed the whole experience. And I filmed when we were lifting off and flying from Dubai to London. I filmed those islands of Dubai. It was such a clear day. It was such a beautiful day, and the view was excellent. And I love Dubai so much. I hope that I will come back to it someday. I got from Dubai to London, and then I met my brother. My brother lives in London. We went to an airport cafe, and then he dropped me by car to the tube station, and from there I went to King's Cross. There I had to buy a SIM card. I activated it, and then I bought through Trainline the ticket to the north of UK where my mother lives, and that's what you have to do in UK: book tickets through trainline.com, because if you book it directly, if you go, for example, you need to go by train the same day somewhere, and you go to King's Cross and St. Pancras, you will pay like 3 times more or something like that. It's just too expensive. It will be like a flight ticket, not like a train ticket. But if you go through trainline.com, you can get really good deals. So I booked the train through trainline.com. I still had time. I stayed in a cafe eating, and then I made my way from St. Pancras to King's Cross. And then I got on the train, and I had to change it twice. So when I got off the last train, it was already over 10 p.m. I think over 10 p.m. And my mother was already waiting for me there, and we took taxi to her home. So now I'm in her home, and I haven't seen this home. I've never been here before. My mom used to live somewhere else in North, and then she moved to live with her partner. So she told that she's been living here for 8 years now. So this is the first time in 8 years that I'm here. It's a small house, two bedroom house. She has a garden, but it's shared by other people, but it's she has also her own place. And it's beautiful garden. She made everything herself, planted all the flowers, and there needs to be a lot of change in this apartment, because before she was living with that partner, and so it wasn't like her place, but now it's her place. So she's going to make many changes here. I will help her, and I think that we can make this place extremely beautiful, like we did in the apartment that we moved when I was 16. We totally remade it because she bought larger apartment at that time. So I think that I'm going to enjoy staying here because it's very quiet. So yesterday, for example, I have still life assessments to do, but yesterday I did a lot of work and it was so quiet, so I was able to fully focus on that. And I also I resumed trading because again it's so quiet and I felt focused, so now I'm trading. So I think that is going to be a productive time here for me. It's a place that more old people live here, so this means no loud music, no shouting, just totally quiet. So exactly like I like. It's completely quiet and it's green, and we are going to visit surrounding places. There are so many beautiful small cities, small towns around, so we will see. I think that this is the place where I'm supposed to stay actually here, and I'm glad that it's not anywhere close to London, because those places now are too expensive and it's just chaotic and lots of problems, like crime and so forth. But here it's better. There is crime, but it's just one time my mom, one time in 8 years they were robbed, but burgled, excuse me. But now they have we have security and everything, so we will see. I think that is a good area. So anyway, this video is getting very long. That's all I wanted to share with you. So I'm safely back. I'm very, very grateful that I am. And now I'm going to do life assessments. So thank you for your attention. I hope that you're all well. Take care.